everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show YouTube channel. The best way to support the show on this YouTube channel is to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and or share it with a friend. I hope that you guys enjoy this episode, and whichever way you choose to support the show, I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much. I hope that today's message and episode brings some bit of positive change to your life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden, and today's guest is Nick Komodina. He is owner of Team K Athletics. Is that how you say it?
Team NK.
Team NK Athletics.
My initials.
Oh.
I've kept it as simple as I could.
Damn it, I missed it. Also owner of Impact, and he does mentorship. He does coaching. He's on Instagram. He has a podcast. Can you shout out your podcast real quick?
Yeah, shout out. My podcast is Headstrong on Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
All the places.
I think other places too.
So, Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so stoked for this. So, I was telling you before, I actually was listening to some of your podcasts before, because I was like, all right, let me, do a little research.
Let me stalk this guy.
Let me be a good interviewer.
Yeah.
And, man, it's just crazy because I think, from Instagram, you may see a coach that is very successful, that has a team of clients who just love and adore you, like in a really genuine way, who also produce really amazing results in the competition world. But when you get to your podcast, and this is why I love podcasting, it's like there's so much more depth.
Yeah, it's like a switch.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I'm curious what led you to start podcasting, because I know for myself, it was that same thing where it's like I didn't have a platform to let out what was inside of me, So what was it that led you to start your podcast?
Well, I originally started my podcast like 2 years ago.
Oh,
and it's kind of
been around
on
podcasts.
I think we only have 34 episodes on the podcast.
Okay.
So it was like I did it for a little bit, and then I got burnt out, and then I did it for a little bit, and then got burnt out, And I originally started it when I was just like focused on like content, and it was like I want to blow up in as many places as I can. I was doing YouTube, I was prepping, I was Instagram,
the whole thing.
I was podcasting. I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was just like, this is how you blow up, and this is how you become successful.
Oh, wow.
And so I wasn't really attached to it because it wasn't anything that I was like passionate about, and I didn't feel like I had a purpose behind it. So the stuff I was saying, like, it was good, but it wasn't anything that I like was like, man, I needed to get that out to people.
Wow.
Yeah. So
when did that switch happen? When did you switch from doing it for that to now where you're at?
I think a lot of it had to do with me having a lot of uncomfortable conversations with myself about why I was doing what I was doing on social media in the first place, because I used to just show up as like a really cocky dude. If you had a problem with me, that's your fucking problem, which like still, if you have a problem with me, that's your fucking problem. But I try not to be such a cocky asshole anymore.
Okay. It sounds like you went through like a personal development phase.
Yeah. I think that's just a great way to put it, is like I matured and grew into somebody that I'm actually proud to be. And I feel like when you feel very aligned in everything that you're doing with your integrity, then your ability to fill other people up with that type of stuff comes from a much more genuine and fulfilling place.
Yeah, because you can't give something to people that you don't have.
Or you pretend to have.
Oh, yeah. Oof. Okay, well, let's kind of get into this topic of doing social media for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
And, people thinking, okay, this is the way to grow, or this is the way to be successful. I have to do YouTube and podcasts and all this stuff. How would you help somebody navigate through figuring out if they're doing things for the right reason or not?
Well, I think that, and something that I always say is you have to remove all of your labels and still be able to answer who you are.
Wow, that's good.
If we take away, like you said, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, I have a podcast, I have a clothing company. If you take away all of that I do, who am I? And me, I'm a leader. That's what I've always been. And it took me a long time to step into that, because I felt kind of like that was cocky, or like that was unacceptable to say you were a leader.
Oh, wow.
By whose standards? Right? It was like just things that I was doing for myself, because I thought the people who called themselves leaders were cocky douchebags.
Gotcha.
When really I was just looking at people who weren't real leaders.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Wow, that's huge.
So I think when it comes to using social media for the wrong reasons, you have to figure out if you're following people for the right reasons even, And so people, like you said, I want this many followers, I want to blow up. That's where I feel I'm successful. And if we look at like people going to college, right? And you're like, man, I want to finish all this so I get my degree. When I get my degree, that means I know all of this stuff. When really the degree is just the acknowledgement
that you went through
of
a lot
your
of
success.
crap.
You've already been successful.
Right.
You've already known all this. You've already been doing all of that work. And just that one day you get the diploma, you go, oh, now I know it all. When you've been successful that whole time, you were just looking at it from a place of once I get proper acknowledgement for it, then I'll deem I'm successful.
I want to dig into this deeper.
God, get a shovel.
I'm going to get all the shovels. I just want everyone to really digest and understand what you just said, because I think that can literally impact the way that people live their lives right
100%.
now today. Like, just imagine in the fitness space, people going after their pro card that are so dedicated and so hardworking, have been working for years, are so excellent in their posing and every detail of their life, but they haven't achieved the pro card yet. I always tell people, when I turned pro, I already knew that I was a pro, and it didn't matter where I got the little acknowledgement, the little piece of paper, right? Like, for me, I knew fully that I was a pro, and I was like, whenever it happens, it's time to happen.
Yeah.
But I think if people can grasp the concept that you're talking about, they can actually experience that happiness and that fulfillment in the journey along the way to the thing that they're looking to achieve.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed, I mean, what else do I can't even add anything on top of that, because you nailed it perfectly. You know, success is like, it's not a destination, it's a daily act, you know, like I think, again, people focus too much on this is what I want to be instead of just like, this is who I am.
Yes. And realizing that you don't need external validation to prove what you are.
Of course. Obviously it helps.
Yeah, well,
you know, like I'm not it fucking helps.
And it feels great too. Trust me. I love to win. I'm a competitor.
Yeah,
like,
I hate to lose more than I love to win.
You know what's
to be
funny?
honest.
This is a great conversation too.
Oh God.
Someone asked me this once, and it's whenever I first heard this question, and I was like, oh, like I love winning because like winning is so fun. Right. Yeah. And then I really dug deeper, and then I experienced some failure, and I was like, oh,
that fucking sucks.
I hate losing. Like,
it's the worst.
Hate.
Yeah.
Losing is the absolute worst, and it sucks because you have to learn how to fail, and you have to learn how to lose. It doesn't feel good, but if you can learn how to navigate through that and not let it take you down completely or to hold you back or make you not try again, I think that is successful. Like, you can be successful in a failure if you learn to fail well. Yeah,
and I think realistically, like, I think people just are way too overdramatic with failures.
Get into that.
I do. Okay. I think people are so afraid of failure. They're so afraid of, if I fuck up, then everybody's right and I'm wrong. And I knew I wasn't good enough anyways. And it's like, dude, I hate losing, but I don't care if I fuck up, because I probably fuck up every day of my life. Yeah, I mean, like,
it's a lot of self-awareness.
I'm so numb to fuck ups now. It's like, all right, oh, there's another one. Oh shit, that didn't work. You know, and it's like, people are so scared to go out and do something new because they're like, well, what if I fuck up? I'm like, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing ever. I literally do not know what the fuck I'm doing 99% of the time.
That's awesome.
And even that 1%, I'm usually guessing.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Just going with the best foot forward.
Yeah.
Googling the correct phrase.
I shoot straight for the middle. Everything I do. Okay. I don't shoot high, I don't shoot low. I shoot straight for the middle.
Yeah. End of story. No, I think it's a really important skill to have, to be able to, one, understand that everybody messes up, everybody at a certain point. Yeah. But there's something that you actually talked about once, how you talked about how we're kind of always in those failures, we're always experiencing the next like biggest failure of life, or, you know, the next like really difficult thing in life. And it was on one of those podcasts where I think you were talking about
I was talking about being in the Maldives, having like the worst time of my life.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And then you were talking about the progression of the worst times of your life. Yeah. So get into that, because that is life changing. Yeah.
That was a psychedelic experience too. That made me really realize, like, dude, what the fuck are you complaining about? Right.
Oh my gosh.
And so basically what this podcast went into was, there's always going to be, like, there's multiple times, and I'm sure you can relate to this, there's multiple times throughout my life where I can look back and say, man, at that point in time, that was the worst thing that had ever happened to me.
Yeah,
like,
and it felt completely crushing.
Yeah, my life was over. Like, what am I going to do? I'm so lost. Nobody understands. I'm not passionate about anything. It's hard to wake up. I'm going through the motions. I don't feel like myself. I feel depressed. All these things. And that's happened so many different times in my life. And it was like the first time I experienced that, I was dating my ex that I was just telling you about, right? The one for those of you guys who know, my ex cheated on me like 93 times.
Whew.
I don't, it's probably more than that.
Wow.
But I mean, that like crippled me, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was one of those people where if I was in a relationship, that was my self-worth,
Oh, wow.
was in that relationship. So if that person didn't want to be with me, that just meant that I wasn't good enough. And so at that point in time, like, I mean, I remember points in times where I had to tell my whole team, like, guys, I can't do check-ins this week.
Damn.
Because I was so just not okay. And it was the worst. That lasted for about a year
Wow.
of my life. And I'm at this little granny flat, you know, renting out the side of this older guy's house, like a 200 square foot living quarters. And then got through that. I moved down to an apartment, which was the nicest place I'd ever lived. I lived in a trailer park when I grew up. I lived in a little granny flat. And then I moved to an actual apartment in San Diego. And I was like, man, this is so nice. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And then she kind of did the same thing again. And I experienced another worst part of my life. And then a year later, I actually bought my first house. And
Congrats.
thank you.
Huge.
Thank you. Yeah, that was incredible. And, you know, kind of had that same experience again, not with her, but just like with my life of like, who am I? What am I supposed to do? And this is before I had really accepted who I was. And then this most recent time, had been feeling very burnt out. I had been feeling very unaligned. And for those of you guys listening, my girlfriend and I went to the Maldives like, what was that, 3 months ago? About, so it's very recent that I had this. And I'm sitting there in the Maldives, and you know, we took some psychedelics, and I'm all these thoughts just come rushing in, because for a while I'd just been feeling so mentally exhausted and drained and not passionate. And like I said, like I just couldn't get up in the morning. And I was like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing right now. And like, what am I supposed to do instead? Like, I don't know. And it was just, I felt so lost. And I'm sitting there talking to myself in my head, like, dude, are you depressed? Like, are you depressed? Like, do I actually need to go and get help?
Oh, wow.
For all of this? Because I was like, this isn't me. So why do I feel like this? And, you know, and then I look up, and I'm in my infinity pool in the French Polynesian Islands in one of the most beautiful resorts in the world. And I'm like, and everything just kind of strung together for me. And I was like, you know, if I'm having a crisis right now and I'm in the Maldives, I think I'm doing all right.
100%.
You know, and it kind of like snapped me back to reality. But then that was when I had to have the conversation with myself. Is if I feel misaligned with what I'm doing right now, then what do I have to do to feel aligned? And that was when I had to have that true conversation with myself of like, you're just a leader.
Yeah, right.
So it doesn't matter if you're coaching or doing mentorship or doing this or doing a podcast. Like, being a leader is my calling.
Yes.
And everything that I'm doing right now is my passion. And my passion is what I channel my calling through. And my passion will change at many different points in my life.
100%. And that's such great clarity to have, because once you realize that, you can realize, and I always talk about how to go from like a job to a career to a calling. And it's the meaning that you attach to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you can be doing anything. You can be taking out the garbage, right? You can be doing any sort of position. But it's like, what's the belief that you have about yourself, and how do you live out your full purpose given whatever, you know, current job or environment you're in?
Yeah.
And something that you mentioned that I want to reiterate is when you were going through that difficult time and you realized you're at the Maldives, you had said that you had gone through the most difficult times in your life, but you progressed.
Yeah.
So like the difficult times in your life, you're experiencing them in better and better situations.
Yes.
And like, that is the point, is as long as you keep moving forward, your worst times of your life, usually you're in better and better circumstances.
Yeah. Well, the more you grow, the more your problems are going to grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the stronger you get, then like, I always said it like this, is like, if you look like when you're going up a level, there's always the path of the most resistance before you have your next breakthrough. So it's like, if we continue to move up that way, like the higher you get, the harder those breakthroughs are going to be, but the stronger you're going to be.
Yeah. And you will have built up the strength to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Like, you can handle it. Your previous version may not have been able to handle it, but who you are now can.
And those are all parts of you still. I actually had this, I had a Zoom call with my team. We do team Zoom calls for mindset and stuff. And somebody asked, you know, I keep self-sabotaging myself. How do you kill off that version of yourself? And I kind of had to explain, like, you never do. All those past parts of yourself, there's a person who I was that I hated. And I'm sure you can relate to that. Maybe not, but a lot of people have had different older versions of themselves. Like, man, I hated who I was.
Yeah.
but that person that I was is still a part of who I am. And I know the potential of who I have to be if I digress and I get lazy and I stop reaching forward to being a better version of myself.
Yeah.
So you can either be running, like if it's motivation to run to a better version of you isn't strong enough, then you can have the motivation of running away from who you used to be. Wow. And you're still going the same direction.
Yeah. Wow. That's huge. So, okay, I want to transition from, a lot of the listeners and people watching on YouTube, they know you for who you are and what you do now, but I actually want to talk about your family life, your upbringing, a little bit into like where you came from. Because I think a lot of people, they just kind of see everyone at surface value for who they currently are, not really getting a full understanding of where they came from. And I think sometimes that can just provide for a deeper connection and understanding of why people are the way that they are, why somebody is truthfully so filled with gratitude and it's not fake. Yeah. Right. So, so let's get into just kind of your upbringing.
Little substance.
Yeah. Little family life.
So I was born in Children's Hospital in San Diego. I'm a Scorpio.
I love this. Day one. I was born.
Yikes. So growing up, it was just me and my mom. Okay. My dad left when I was like 2. I don't really have a memory of my father. I really don't. So it was my mom and I, we lived in this trailer park, and it was like, the old Eminem 8 Mile story, identically. Yeah. Wow. And small. It was really small. It was, maybe 20 feet by 6 feet. It was a small trailer, and lived there for a long freaking time. I think up until I was 19. Oh,
like your whole childhood?
Yeah, my whole childhood was there in this trailer park.
Wow.
And my mom didn't make a lot of money, maybe like $30,000 a year before taxes, but rent was only like $300. So our needs were met. Like our extrinsic drivers, like our basic needs for survival, they were met. So I never really felt as a child that I was struggling. So even though I came from a very like not optimal or not fruitful childhood, like I never felt like I was lacking anything. So I have to give a lot of credit to my mom because she's super mom, so I never really had a scarcity, but my mom did instill a lot of like frugality in me, like coasting down the hill in neutral to save gas.
No way.
Oh yeah. Oh, I still do it. I am so frugal.
I wouldn't even know to do that.
Dude, if Allie goes to Allie's not allowed to go to the grocery store by herself.
She'll just buy everything.
Because, she'll buy
she's like, all these vegetables.
This is a real argument that we had. Is she came home and she had bought the Thomas brand bagels, and I was like, you realize that the H-E-B brand bagels are right next to them and they're $1 less. And we actually had that. We had that discussion.
She's like, I work so hard, I'm spending the $1.
I'm like, it matters. It adds up. You know what I mean? How many bagels? I'll sit her down. How many bagels are we gonna buy over the course of our lifetime?
You gotta give her some freedom to get some name brands of what she wants, and maybe come to the middle on some other things. Maybe. He's like absolutely not.
Maybe that's never gonna happen. I'm just saying that for social media.
Sorry, Allie. Are you okay? Blink twice.
But yeah. So I grew up there, and I went to a very small elementary and middle school, and I actually just talked about this on another podcast, but when I was really young, I just immersed myself in dinosaurs.
Really?
Immersed. I was a genius.
Okay.
Like I could tell you any dinosaur in any book, its scientific name, what era it was in, how long it lived, what it ate, like everything about dinosaurs.
Have you gone to the Houston Museum?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
I just went the other, for my birthday, I went with a friend, and he's the same way.
Oh, man, I loved that museum.
Yeah, he was crazy. He's like, that's a... Yeah. And I was like, what? And I go look at the sign. I was like, you're right.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, it was good.
But yeah, so going into school and stuff, I was really bored with schoolwork because I just wanted to get into dinosaurs. Yeah. I just wanted to get back to it. So I taught myself, I was like, okay, if I can get really good at my schoolwork, I can finish it faster. I can read my dinosaur books. Teachers aren't going to touch me.
That's awesome.
Well, it got to the point where I was like, you went to school around the same time as me. Where like you had to show your work for math. Yeah. Otherwise it was wrong. Yeah. So I was doing it all in my head. It was easier. Oh. And the teacher actually pulled me into the principal's office one day because she was like, oh, he's cheating. Called my mom in, gave me a new test to take it in front of everybody. I got the whole thing right.
Wow.
And they still were like, well, you have to show your work. Like you can't do it. Like unless you do it our way. Yeah. You can't.
You're as a kid, anarchy.
Yeah. Well, that to me is a huge issue in the schooling system. It is. Like it's detrimental because here I was a kid and my creativity was just flourishing, and I was I was getting so smart because of it. Because like my motivation to follow my curiosity was so high. The second they ripped that away from me, it was like it killed a part of me.
Wow.
You know, and so I started failing. I started being the class clown.
Yeah.
I stopped caring about dinosaurs altogether, so I didn't really have anything to do. And so I just started causing all this mischief. I started fighting. I started, you know, and when you're from the background that I'm from, like lives in a trailer park, doesn't have a dad, the teachers are like, oh,
right.
That's why.
Right.
You know, like there's no personal responsibility on their end.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I ended up, you know, leaving in middle school because I was still fighting. Went back to a new high school where there was like, I think there was like 4,000 people in this whole high school. And to me, that was like
huge.
It was unreal. I mean, I went from an entire middle school of like 42 kids between 7th and 8th grade.
That's like the size school that I went to.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went to this high school, I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You know? And so I got really popular by the end of my high school career. And I just had so many friends, and it was high school was incredible for me.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was incredible for me. But, you know, then I started partying.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. And so you went down that route.
Yeah, really bad.
Okay.
Yeah, like
in
really
a not
bad.
Good way.
And
where did that come from? Was it you just wanting to have fun? Was it just the age you were at? Was it you masking feelings that you didn't want to feel, or what was it?
So for me, like, I know a lot, like the normal diagnosis is like, man, you know, trauma from dad, which I'm sure I have some there, but I still haven't uncovered it yet, if we're being honest, because I don't feel it. It's kind of like, he's just kind of like a stranger to me.
Yeah.
Never met him, or I've met him, but I've never have a memory of him. But I think the drinking and stuff, it just kind of came from like, this is what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it. And then I just started liking it.
You're like, I'm going to do it. Great.
I mean, 4 locos, crack 2 of them, and you're
I remember spring break too.
You're passed out in the bush for who knows how many days.
Right. Oh, wow.
But it got to the point where, you know, I actually cheated on my first girlfriend, drunk. It was my first year in college. She was still in high school. And that kind of just sent me down this like crazy downward spiral that I had no idea I was capable of going down. And I mean, to the point where I was probably about 3 seconds away from ending my own life.
Wow.
Yeah.
From guilt?
I don't know if it was purely from guilt. I think it just was, I really don't know what it was. It was guilt, and then I was continuing to drink, and I was unhappy with where I was in life. And, you know, there was just so many things playing a role there, and it got to the point where I was just so overwhelmed from feeling shitty that I was, you know, one click away from doing it. And that to me was my wake up call of like, I need to stop drinking right now. And so I made a New Year's resolution to myself. I was like, I'm not going to drink for this entire year, and I'm just going to focus on my fitness. I'm going to focus on my body, focus on my health. And interesting enough, during that time is I lost every single friend that I thought I had.
Wow.
Because if I wasn't going to the parties and I wasn't drinking and I wasn't getting belligerent, nobody wanted to be associated with me.
That's rough.
Yeah. So I started personal training. And small town, everyone started talking shit.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Because you weren't drinking and you were training?
Well, because I wasn't the most fit guy but I had the knowledge.
Yeah.
And so I started personal training. I actually linked up with this guy at his gym and eventually opened up my own gym that I ran for 3.5 years in San Diego.
Wow, that's so dope.
Yeah, it was really fun. And, you know, the whole time, all my friends ghosted me. I hear everybody talking shit. Everybody saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an idiot. I'm never going to make it in fitness. Wow. He's so fucking stupid for posting on Instagram. And the best part about all this is now I'm signing thank you notes on their impact orders.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
gotta feel good.
That's always good when I see that. Thank you.
Name. Yeah. Like, I heard that shit you talked.
Yeah. Thanks for your money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just kind of like the catalyst to me to prove to myself that, man, if I really just dedicated a year of my life right now and I did this and I had nobody in my corner, what can I do if I just keep going and I attract better people in my corner?
Yeah.
You know?
So when did you move to Houston?
I moved to Houston a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When you and Allie moved together.
Allie and I bought the house about a year ago. A little over a year ago. Yeah. So I sold my gym.
Okay.
After about 3.5 years of running it, I pretty much convinced myself, or I had that calling moment. Because I started online coaching. I don't know if you know Des or Kendall.
I think I've Rings a bell.
Okay, so Des and Kendall were my 2 first clients.
Oh, okay.
And Kendall went on one of her shows. Des went on and actually went pro her first season with me.
Oh, dope.
And so during that time, I accumulated a lot of inquiries, you know, and that was where I had that calling of like, this is where you need to be. And that was the first time in my life I ever just listened.
To your intuition.
My intuition. So I closed my gym within a month. Within a month of having that, I closed my gym, sold all the equipment, and moved down to actual San Diego.
Wow.
Yeah. And then in that first year of just diving headfirst into online coaching, the best that I could, and just really making each client my most important client. After that first year, I was able to buy my first house.
Dude.
And that was the first house I ever lived in.
That's incredible. Okay, so you said that was the first time that you listened to your intuition.
Yeah.
Get into why you may have ignored your intuition previously, or like what kind of, how did you struggle with your intuition before, and what led you to just acting on it?
I really do not know what led me to act on it, but I know that I was still very, very, very concerned about what people were thinking about me.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, I had finally, because when I opened my gym, I was 21 when I first opened it. So I was like, alpha dog, right? Like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, I have my own gym now.
Yeah, you talked all this shit, and now what's up? So I was like riding yesterday's success for so long because that was what made me feel like I was above everybody who was talking shit about me. And I was scared to go and try something new again and potentially fail, and then everybody was right.
Wow.
That's what I cared about. I didn't care about, you know, if I do this, can I help more people? And does this really align with me? And all that stuff. So the second I had that intuition, I was just like, man, I don't want to live in this town in 20 years. I don't want to be at my gym in 20 years. And I was like, I mean, I just have to do this.
Yeah.
You know, and like, it was the sloppiest business closed. Like, I didn't care. Yeah. I mean, I was selling shit for 70% less than what it was worth. Cause I was like, I know I need to get the fuck out of here, like right now, or I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
You know, so I kind of like
lit a fire under your butt.
Lit a fire everything around me. You know, like I just needed to burn it all to the ground and run. Yeah.
Wow. That's actually incredible. I know, you know, for myself and my journey, I too have struggled with worrying about what other people think. And I think it comes, especially with being on social media, it's like you have even more eyeballs on you.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Reddit loves me.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I had no idea they love me so much. Shout out to Reddit. We love you guys. Cheers, mates.
Make this a pic for IG. Yeah. Cheers to Reddit.
That's a good idea.
Send me that.
I will. No, man. Oh, wait. I wanted to post this to Instagram and I just decided not to, so I'll do it here. But I wanted to post like a little caption saying like to all my Reddit followers, like, you love me.
Oh my
God. You want to date me. You want to kiss me. You know, from Miss Congeniality.
Yeah.
It's great.
They really do though.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we all know people who are happy and thriving in their lives are not spending time.
I mean, I don't have anonymous profiles.
I don't either. Yeah.
If I don't like someone, I'm just going to say I don't like them.
I barely can keep up with my friends. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm sorry, I know nothing about your life. I have not been like keeping up, but hi, you know, let me know now.
I just actually picture somebody. Send it. I actually picture somebody like at home on Instagram in like their pajamas on their couch and like looking through my Instagram and being like, screenshot, and then going to their anonymous profile on Reddit and being like, oh my God, do you guys see this right now? And then just waiting for people to respond.
I'm like, have you guys heard of Netflix? There's really good TV shows out there.
I would so much rather watch Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's so many good shows out there you can really get into. There's so much drama.
Well, if you spent, I mean, dude, here's the thing. Redditors. I'm not even telling you guys to stop because it's clearly a passion of yours. But if you took even half the time that you put on Reddit and you put it into actually bettering your own reality instead of focusing on other people's, I guarantee you would have a much happier, more fulfilled life. I guarantee it.
I agree. And what you're saying is you're recognizing their passion. And that's true. It is passion and it's energy. And if you could channel that into something positive for your own life or for the people around you, you could do such incredible things that you would have Redditors writing about you. Yeah.
And you could sit right here for the next podcast.
Hey, this is your challenge. Do it. Contact us in a year. We'll do a new podcast with you. Talking about how you changed your life.
An ex-Redditor grows.
That's great. Okay. So Speaking about growth, you clearly have done a lot of personal work on yourself. You said that you used to kind of be this like, asshole kind of figure.
Still an asshole, but
right. But
at least I'm aware of it.
Yeah. No, I say the same thing. I'm like, nice asshole though.
Yeah.
So what kind of like spawned your personal growth, and what was really helpful to you for maybe becoming self-aware in the beginning, right? Like becoming aware to, oh, maybe I don't need to operate this way or react this way or think this way. Was it books? Was it a person? Was it something you remember specifically?
I think it was a combination of books, asking myself questions, and psychedelics.
Okay.
I really do.
When did you start? Yeah. Can you kind of go into all those? Like,
Yeah. So somebody that I actually mentor under, and I've had a couple interactions with him in person, Zoom sessions, and read all of his books, is John C. Maxwell. And he is somebody that I really, really idol or model after in terms of leadership and the way that he interacts with people. And he has a lot of great books that have really just made me look into the reasons that why I do what I do. And when it comes to like psychedelics, it's kind of those things where I think once I started microdosing, and it kind of puts you in that state of mind where you want to understand everything from a curiosity standpoint,
right,
instead of a reactionary standpoint
or a judgment standpoint.
And I think, and I just said this on a podcast yesterday too. I've guested on, this is my third podcast I've guested on this week.
Dang,
I'm on fire. I don't know what's going on.
That's great.
But I said, I kind of got in this part where like, it's not my job to defend if somebody has a problem with me, but it could be my job to create a different environment where they don't. So it's not my job to defend, it's my job to create. And it depends on my relationship with that person, right? Like if you have a problem with something that I just did, it's not my job to defend my actions, but it can be my job to create a space. If I value your friendship or I value as a person, it could be my job to create a different environment where your boundaries are respected. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. Which is so beneficial in a relationship setting too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be so helpful for conversations, because a lot of times people get so offended by what someone else is saying, or they get defensive, right? And then you're not able to actually communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And so I think what this does is it helps you to take a little step back and say, okay, I am who I am, but let's talk about like how we could not create this.
But I can be wrong.
Again. Yeah, that too.
That's the thing, is I can be wrong.
Did you ever think in your life that you were right all the time?
24/7.
Wow.
24/7. That's what I mean about being the egotistical asshole. Like, I would say shit and people would just get so triggered and argue with me on social media, and I would entertain it in my DMs. Just, like, it's not my fucking problem. You're a pussy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, no, but
mature.
Yeah.
Great use of your vocabulary there.
No, but coming at it from that like confrontational standpoint of like somebody disagreeing and me being like, well, fuck you. Right. Instead of like, oh, it's a very interesting thought process. Like, I don't agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from. This is just my view of it, and like, that's fine. Yeah. We can want different things. We can see things different ways. We can react to certain things differently. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think 99% of the altercations between people on this planet are just miscommunication or lack of feeling understood.
Oh, for sure. Or lack of being seen.
Yeah.
They feel like they're not seen. There's been so many times where I had people comment in my DMs and, kind of go off about something. And I would just say, I would first speak on what I saw from them. I would say, wow, thank you for, sharing with me. And then I'd say, this is what I see. I see that you have a really big heart that really cares about other people, and you desire these things. And I would look for the deeper meaning beyond what they were actually arguing about. And then they would write back and were just so much kinder and so much more understanding and willing to talk. And it kind of takes them from like a level 10 to like a level 5. Yeah. And then you can have some open, good conversation. Yeah. And, it's just, I think it comes down to the fact that we are all individuals. We think differently. We operate differently. Even like you were talking about in the education system, how students learn completely differently. Yeah. We need to allow for individuality so that we can be our fullest selves and have these conversations and understand that we're not always going to see eye to eye. Yeah. And that it's okay. And you can be friends and you can still have a conversation with people that don't have your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, whatever it is. Yeah.
Careful.
Yeah. Me and I just interviewed Kerrigan the other day. Okay. And she just kind of threw out like I love America. And then I was like, yeah, so about this. And then we're like, let's stop this right here. Not the podcast for that. But We could do a group podcast once.
I'm down.
I'll
go
in.
Down?
I'm down to go in.
I'll dive head first into that one.
I'm 100% down. Hey everyone, just a quick interruption from today's show to let you know that there are multiple ways you can be involved in the Evolve community. There's Evolve X, my premium mentorship and coaching program. There's Evolve X Worldwide, an entry-level mentorship program. And now there's actually a way to directly support the Evolve with Emily show podcast. All of those links will be down below. I just wanted to mention them. So if you haven't checked them out yet, please check them out for more information. And without further ado, let's get back to today's episode. Okay, so when was the point when you had to realize that you were wrong, right? Because like when I grew up, my dad always taught us to say, he like instilled this in us. I am wrong. And then like apologize really nice. And make it right. So to me, that's just so normal. Like, I'm like, duh, like if you're wrong, you're wrong. Yeah. And then I realized as I grew up, I was like, wow, people don't
people
take personal responsibility.
Not know they're wrong.
Yeah, they don't know. Like, are you, hello? And so was it hard for you to like swallow that and have to say that?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Explain that or go into that a little bit because I imagine the people listening that are like, they deep down know that they're wrong, but they haven't gotten to that point yet.
Well, it's the ego.
Yeah.
It's the ego.
Yeah.
But everybody thinks that your ego, like if you're egotistical, it just means you're a dick. And that's not what your ego is. Your ego takes everything from your past to paint your present and your future, right?
And
based
to
off
protect
your,
you.
Yeah, but it's protecting you based off of your past. So it's like when people go, I always get hurt in relationships, so I don't open up for people. I go, man, you're really egotistical. That's your ego. Yeah. Overriding logic, ration, you know, all that stuff. But I get it. That's normal. You put your hand on the stove and you burn your hand. Your ego's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. But I think when it comes to being wrong, again, we attach so much self-worth to us being right over other people. So we think that if we are wrong, then it lowers our self-worth overall. And we already have a hard time of having self-worth. Like the society is filled with self-worth issues. So if there's something else that reiterates like, I'm wrong, it kind of goes back to failure. If you're wrong, that's technically a fuck up. Right? Yeah. So it's technically a failure. And people are scared as fuck to be wrong because then they think that nobody's going to take them seriously anymore. And like, that's it. Like if I'm wrong, that's it. I'm over.
It's crazy that we have this perfectionist mentality.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like we're human beings. We're going to mess up and it's okay.
God, I'm probably one of the biggest fuck ups I know.
Yeah, no, I am too. But I struggle with that perfectionism myself. I always have my whole life. Yeah. So it's taken a lot of personal work and development and mess ups to get to a point where I've had so many of them by this point. I don't judge myself for it anymore.
Yeah. Or other people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely not. No. And that's the thing too, is like one of my friends said the other day, she was like, thank you so much that like I can always come to you with my crazy shit and like I'm never judged. And I'm like, how could I judge you when like I've walked through
when I've got this shitstorm behind me of life.
Exactly. Like, did you see those tornadoes over there? Yeah. So I think it comes down to like not judging ourselves and realizing that we're all human and we all go through times of not being right, times of messing up, times of doing things on purpose that we know are wrong and then having to like correct ourselves.
Well, I think one of the best ways that I've heard this articulated is when we go through life, we have to realize that no matter what we do, we're going to be wrong. And the goal is to just be less wrong over time. Yes. And it just comes from a curiosity standpoint. When you're an infant and you're learning how to walk, the second that is it toddler or infant? It's toddler.
There's two. They're the same.
Are they the same?
Oh, wait, when they walk, you mean?
No, yeah. What's the younger one? A baby.
The younger one's an infant.
It's a baby. It's a baby. I'm not ready to be a parent. I'm wrong. I am wrong. I will admit that I am wrong.
That was amazing.
So when this baby is trying to walk and they fall, they don't just go, I'm never going to walk.
This wasn't meant for me.
Yeah. Oh, I fucked up. Look at all these other 5-year-olds walking. I feel so fucking stupid even trying to compete with these 5-year-olds on the playground. They're going down slides. I can't even fucking stand up.
Can you imagine?
You know what I mean? Like I'm just going to be a vegetable my whole life and sit. You know, like that doesn't happen because we have such a curiosity essence from the world. We have such a growth mindset of like, oh, that sucked. And then you fall. And then the baby cries for a little bit. And then after a while, you realize they're only crying if mom looks. So that's why when the baby falls, mom looks away. Right. And they go, oh, there's no attention on me. Nobody cares. So I'm just going to get up and keep going.
Wow.
Right. And then eventually, the kid learns how to walk. Yeah. But somewhere along the line, from that to here, we lose that. We lose that curiosity. And maybe the school system has a role to play with that. I think it has a huge role to play with that.
I don't think that it cultivates curiosity.
No, it cultivates
doing what you're told, staying in line.
Conforming.
Yes,
conformity.
Yeah.
That's what it, and then when we see people not in that conformity that we know is comfortable, that we like to play safe, we demonize them.
Yeah.
We make a Reddit thread about them.
Yeah. That's so true.
You know?
Yeah. And no, I totally agree. I think one of the biggest things that we could do is to really identify what part of ourselves we need to look back and like, what did we lose from childhood, right?
Yeah.
So in childhood, you have like all these different things. And what you're kind of talking about is this like curiosity, this creativity, this flowy, this freeness, this playfulness, right? So what are some actual activities that we can do in real life to cultivate more of that? You know, things like singing and dancing and going to festivals and, you know, anything that is like playful and fun. He's like, I've got the answer.
Drugs.
Okay, Nick.
Oh boy,
simmer down.
Reddit's gonna get me for that one.
So, but it's like looking at this and figuring out how we can incorporate more of that. I know for myself, one of the moments that did that for me was actually in California on the beach doing the silent disco. Have you seen those?
No.
Okay, so you all have like wireless headphones. And there's like, you know, 30 people and you're playing the same songs and you go out there and you literally like dance on the beach and there's tons of people watching. Like, who are these crazy people? Because it's silent to everyone else.
Yeah.
To us, we all have the same song. And you start off like kind of like bopping, whatever. And then like you really get into it. And then you're like free flowing like all around the beach. And like it just creates this energy. It creates this energy in you that for me awakened something that had been so dormant for years. And like I get chills even just thinking about it because
I got a couple.
Yeah, because I was just like, man, like I didn't realize that I was missing this in my life. You know, I've been on my own since I was 16. I've worked multiple jobs. Like I've just been in such a like masculine energy of just work, provide all these things that I didn't allow any space for that in my life. And when I did that, something else in me like awakened. Yeah. You know, and I think the more that we can awaken those parts of ourselves that have been dormant that we don't even realize are there, that's when we can have true growth, and that's when we can start to really grow into our highest potential.
Yeah, you have to align with who you are.
Yes. Yeah. And how do you do that if you don't actually know who you are, if you don't actually know what's inside of you?
Yeah. Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It was huge. It was huge for me. And, you know, that's why this is called like Evolve with Emily, right? And someone said you should say evolved because I finished my YouTube series that was Evolve. Because this is how it started. And I was like, no.
I'm always evolving.
Yeah, like you miss the point if you think that you evolved.
Yeah.
Like you never have evolved. Like you were always and forever continuously evolving.
Yeah, and I think that circles back to what we talked to about people focusing on like the social media, like the success destination. People are so focused on the destination. Once I get here, that's it. Yeah. I'm done. And that's never,
not true.
That's not true. You know, like I said, once you get the diploma, now I know everything. You already did.
Now you got to get a job and make it.
Now you have to learn more to progress in your job. And then it goes, well, once I get that raise, then I'll be set.
It's like that dangling carrot.
Yeah. And like we have two drivers. We have extrinsic drivers and intrinsic drivers, right? And extrinsic drivers are your basic survival needs. And once those are met, money stops being a motivator. Yeah. And they've done research on this. Once the average American is making $75,000 a year, they're not really incentivized by money anymore. So what's left to drive us? And that's where our intrinsic comes in play. And that's our creativity, our passion, our purpose, our autonomy, our mastery. You know, and mastery can be anything. It can be your hobby. It can be yourself. It can be your spirituality. It can be dancing. It can be any hobby or passion that you have. And that needs to be what our driving force is. And like you said, reawakening those that have died or gone to sleep or that we haven't fed.
Yeah. And just getting really curious for yourself about what else is in there.
Yeah.
Like even me right now today, I'm so curious. I'm like, what am I going to be like in 10 years? Like what?
Oh God, I don't even know what I'm like.
He's like, I'm worried.
I'm not ready for that guy.
No, but and then think about like in a relational setting with your significant other. I think sometimes people, they think that they know who that other person is because they've known them for a couple of years. Yeah. And it's like the second that you stop getting curious about the people that are around you is the second that relationship starts dying. Yeah. Maybe it's not fully dead right now, but a few years down the road, that's where it leads.
Well, if you stop being curious, you become disinterested because you don't have that driver. Yeah. Curiosity is a driver. Yeah. And if you don't keep it, you become disinterested. And I don't know about you, if my partner becomes disinterested in the relationship's usually going to be over. But the issue is that we become disinterested in ourselves. And then we have a terrible relationship with ourselves. And then the relationship with ourselves is over. And then we just don't have creativity, and then we don't have passion. So what takes its place? Negative self-talk.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we just continuously tell ourselves that we're pieces of shit and, well, fuck it, I fucked up my diet. I'm just going to keep going. You know, you couldn't stick to this anyways. You look in the mirror and you hate what you see. Your creativity's died. You have nothing that's filling your cup up and making you passionate and making you smile.
How have you dealt with negative self-talk?
Oh, man. I think everybody deals with this a little bit differently, and everybody has to, you know. It's hard because truthfully, I'm at this place right now where I do love myself so much, because I know that I fuck up, and because I know that nothing I ever do is going to be perfect, and because I know that I'm just along for the ride, and I'm just trying to get better than I was yesterday, and whatever that looks like is different for me. And so I think when I have that negative self-talk, and I guess the best way I can put this is it's really hard to feel bad about yourself when you're doing good for other people.
Wow. Yeah, when you take the focus off of yourself.
Yeah, and it's like, it's almost, and I did a podcast about this called You're Not Special. And it's like, if I asked you, like, do you think you're special? You'd be like, well, no. And I'd be like, then why do you think that you're this piece of shit that can't do anything else that everybody else is doing? That is you thinking that you're special.
Wow.
You thinking you're special doesn't mean you're better than everybody. It can also mean you're worse than everybody.
Wow.
You think you're special, and you're not. And the second you realize that, a lot of doors open, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's massive. That's huge, because I'm such a optimist person, right? So like when you say that, I immediately go to someone thinking that they're like the best or better than everyone. And so it's such a cool perspective to say, if you think you're the worst, you also think that you're special.
Yep, it's the same thing. Wow. So you a glass empty or a glass full? I'm
glad there's water in the glass.
See, I drink it. I'm an opportunist. That was a great quote of that.
That was good.
Yeah, there's a great quote on that. It says, you know, dear to the opportunist and what's the other one? The
optimist, pessimist.
Pessimist. While you guys were debating about the glass, I drank it.
Yeah,
Sign the optimist.
I've seen that.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's good. It's funny. That's a good example. Okay, so I want to go into relationships a little bit here.
Okay.
I want to go into experience that you've had with relationships and communication. So things that have not worked for you in the past, or things that you feel may have made it a harder situation for you guys. And then maybe like what's something in communication that really helps you to do that well now.
Yeah. So my last 2 girlfriends both cheated on me.
Wow.
So that's, you know, there's obviously, first one, we were young, 20s, like low 20, 21.
No excuses for that.
No excuse, but it's like, I don't damn either of them. Obviously growth happens out of this, but I think both of those probably came from a lack of communication on somebody's end, you know, and like they were so long ago, and I didn't have the self-growth aware to bring any sort of awareness to it. And like, I don't even remember it now. But I think any time that, you know, there's infidelity, there's obviously a reason. And that reason could very well be that person's just a shitty fucking person.
Right.
But sometimes it can be from them not feeling a connection in the relationship and kind of too attached to the relationship and being scared to leave. And then they don't know, because human beings, we are hardwired for connection. We are. And if we're not getting it from the one place we should be getting it, it's in our nature to get it somewhere else. And that doesn't necessarily mean you got to go cheat.
Right.
But sometimes it can lead to that if you're not getting any sort of connection from your partner, and that's usually a lack of miscommunication. And then that's where you can see people start getting jealous and start really being like, why the fuck are you talking to them?
Yeah.
Who's this? Why are you always doing that? And again, most people go straight into defense mode. Why are you being so fucking crazy? You're doing this, you're doing that. And my job isn't to defend. My job is to create. And that's where I've felt the most success thus far. And don't get me wrong, Allie and I have problems still. And we have things that we have to work on. But I will say that the most important shift that we have done is in how we communicate things when the other person is upset. And so if she's coming to me saying, you know, just saying, hey, why are you at Emily's house right now by yourself? Like that's, I'm uncomfortable with that. And I say, hey, you know what? I understand what you're saying. Emily's my friend and we're just doing a podcast, but what do you need from me right now to where you can feel safe for me being here?
Cool. Everybody pause and re-listen to what he just said. every single woman and man and whatever needs to listen to that, because that is the best response. It's not, are you crazy? Emily and I are friends, or being defensive because there is just a friendship, but it's actually taking into account their feelings and then asking them what they need in order to feel safe and secure about it.
But that also comes back to the ego.
Yeah.
Some people, you don't want to be wrong. The fuck, you're fucking crazy. Emily's my friend. I'm just doing a podcast. You get over yourself. Stop it. And then you just harsh them. I've been guilty of this. I have, and that's why I know what it is. Yeah. You know, and I didn't react that way out of bad intentions. That was just the way that my brain was wired.
Yeah,
you're fucking crazy.
You don't know to act different.
Yeah, you're fucking crazy. What do you mean? Yeah. We're sitting 5 feet away from each other. There's a table in between us, and we're on camera. And we're literally on camera. Like, what do you know? But instead of that, like I said, just trying to create that safe space for your person, because when they're reacting that way, it's because they don't feel safe for some reason. And that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. That could mean that they don't have all the data, so that maybe their mind is creating an interpretation of the reality that's actually happening. So by you saying, hey, I can understand how you might be feeling that way, but I can assure you this is what's happening, but what can I give you right now so that you feel differently? Yeah. Do you need me to call you? Do you want me to check in every 30 minutes? What do you need me to do? I don't mind.
Yeah. Wow. That's huge. And what you're doing too is just being a team player. I think oftentimes too many people are like me versus you in a relationship. And what you're doing is we're on a team. So like, oh, you feel that way? Okay. How can we work to create and make this better?
Us versus the problem.
Yes. And I think that team mentality, and I think if you guys as partners have never told your other partner, like, hey, I'm on your team, like sit them down and tell them and be like, while things are good, say, I just want you to know I'm on your team. So like when things go south, not if, but when we're having issues or having an argument or an insecurity or whatever it is comes up, I'm on your team and I want to figure out how we can do this together. I think just having that conversation, because then you kind of put this little chip in their head so that when they're upset, they'll remember, oh wait, they said that they were on my team. Let me calm down and let me really express why I'm feeling this way to them.
Yeah, and also if you come out with a problem, guns blazing, that's not good either.
No, not at all. Okay, so communication. What else is something that you feel like you've grown a lot in relationally with your significant other that maybe you had an experience with in the past and now you've grown from that and just kind of helps you to have a better relationship now?
I think being present.
Okay, so explain how you used to not be.
I think every entrepreneur can understand this at some point in time where you get so, or even people just trying to break into entrepreneurship, you get so obsessed with the idea of like, I need to work 24/7. I shouldn't be sleeping. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that. Like, I don't have time for this. I need to make this work. And if I'm not putting all my heart and soul into this, then I'm going to fail. And it's a fucking lie. It's literally a lie. It is. And we've got science on science to show us that if we don't sleep for a whole night, your work output goes down like 70% anyways. So that time that you would have just spent sleeping actually ends up showing that you get more done in less time anyways. But I used to have a very, very big problem with just like, I would wake up at 3:30 a.m. to go open my gym at 5 a.m. and I would train clients all day. I'd go to the gym, I'd come home, I'd eat, I'd go back to the gym, close the door, or lock up the gym, come home, and then I would start editing a YouTube video. And my girlfriend's laying in bed watching TV, like, hey, you coming to bed? And I'm like, yeah, once I'm done with this YouTube video, I got to get up tonight. Yeah. And by the time I'm done, she's asleep and I'm exhausted. So I go to bed and then rinse and repeat, 6 days a week. And then by Sunday, I'm a zombie and, I have no energy to give the relationship and even be present. So I think I have boundaries. 6 o'clock, my laptop's closed. Doesn't matter what I'm doing.
That's great. Wow.
Doesn't matter what I'm doing. But I know that now every morning. So I go, I got to get everything done by 6. Yeah. I get everything done by 6. Yeah. My clients know, hey, if it's an emergency, you can message me any point in time. But if you message me after 7 p.m., that's inappropriate.
Wow.
It's inappropriate. Yeah. And I won't respond unless it's to yell at you
for
messaging me.
That's great. It's so important. I think boundaries in everything.
Boundaries is just a great one. I should have just said that. That's it. Yeah. I've gotten better at boundaries.
Okay. That's great. And so how have you ever struggled with setting boundaries and then people not respecting those boundaries? Yes. As client coach, as relationship, and like, how do you personally handle those situations when your boundaries are not being respected?
I think that people shy away from confrontation. And they think confrontation is just this terrible thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. And it all depends on how you handle it. And again, same thing, not from a defensive standpoint and not even from an offensive standpoint, from a communicative standpoint. So I used to give all my clients my personal phone number. I don't do that shit anymore.
I was like, how quickly did you learn that lesson?
Yeah, it was real fast.
I used to do that too.
You know, I would have clients text me at 10 p.m. like, hey, I'm at the grocery store. What brand of waffles do you think tastes better?
Stop.
I'm like, I got to stop doing this.
Yeah.
You know, and granted, this was when I first started off. Now I'm very, very honored and fortunate to be able to be very selective with my roster.
That's great.
Which is, yeah, it's incredible. But I would just respond, you know, and I'd be like, hey, try to be a little better about what time you're texting me and this and that. And, you know, now it's to the point where if a client, I guess I had a hard time setting those boundaries with clients because I didn't have self-worth enough in myself as in a coach and what I was offering. So to me, it was like, I'm a servant to these people. It's a
scarcity mindset.
Yes, it was. If they text me at midnight and I don't respond, then they're not going to see value in me as a coach and they're going to leave me and then I'm going to lose out on that income.
Wow.
You know, and
the seat's adjusted.
The seat has adjusted.
That was great. We look like the same height now.
Perfect. And now I'm to the point where, you know, the team is very successful. I've been very fortunate enough to have other business ventures that have become very successful. And they're all very self-sustaining. So I guess I was able to grow into that point where, and not even from like, I have money now, so I don't care, but more of in order to keep up with the output that I need to have to give all of my clients the energy they need, the attention, the detail they need, and for me to just have that execution of work ethic, I need boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. They protect the thing that you cherish the most.
Yes.
Which is being a great coach and providing a great service and being a great boyfriend and being a good dog dad, you know?
Yeah.
Shout out to Bella.
Shout out to Bella. Yeah, but now, you know, if a client messages me at that late, my response is, hey, you know what? Not mad, not angry, just need to set this boundary. It is absolutely inappropriate for you to be messaging me this late. If you have something like this and it's this late, please email me and I'll get back to you in the morning.
Yeah.
And they go, you know, holy shit, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize how late it is. I say, hey, that's no problem at all, but I need this boundary, you know?
Yeah. And here's what I've experienced when setting boundaries is people usually will actually respect you more for valuing yourself so much, for having those strict boundaries. And then it actually usually inspires them to create boundaries in their own life, right?
It's a ripple effect of leadership.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's what makes you a good leader is being able to speak the truth in love and having those clear boundaries and not being afraid of the confrontation to communicate something that you really need.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing is you're communicating your needs as a coach.
Yeah. And if a client, you know, and any inspiring coaches out there or any business people out there who are afraid to do this with clients, like if you set a boundary for yourself and your clients react poorly to that and don't respect that, then like that's a misalignment of work, and you guys shouldn't be working together, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, don't be afraid to say no to someone that's not your ideal client.
Yeah.
Like, imagine a roster full of your ideal clients.
I have it.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's the
incredible.
best. Like, it is the best. And then imagine a roster full of people that are not even close to your ideal client. That's chaos. That's stress. That's anxiety. That's
chaos.
Frustration. I do too. I want peace. You know, so I think it's important to identify that ideal client and then not to be afraid to realize when someone's not a good fit.
We could talk about chaos.
Okay.
Because I feel like people are under this illusion that they are supposed to be a part of chaos.
Okay, go into chaos.
I did an Instagram post on this and it did very well. I actually think you reshared it now that I think about it. I think you did.
I mean,
Emily has
Emily has what?
Oh, it was really good if I reposted it.
No, I just mean because I mean I don't repost something unless I like really like it. I hardly even read other people's posts. Like
I feel special.
Sorry.
I do.
I just mean anyways, I digress.
Well, just going into that chaos thing, people think chaos is normal. And people normalize chaos. Like if we look at the whole COVID thing that happening, every single person had to be a part of it. They had to be a part of canceling people. They had to be a part of throwing people to the wind and fighting people and all this stuff. And all this chaos is going on. And people are so convinced that they are supposed to be a part of it instead of completely distancing themselves from it to just find peace and not give a fuck about all this shit going on around us. And that is the most draining life I could possibly think of having. But I used to be in that. Wow. I was always confrontational. Like back when I was a dick, I was always confrontational. I was always trying to stir the pot. I was always trying to get people to yell at me. And I was always commenting on posts of like, this is fucking stupid. How could you post it? Right. I was so convinced that I needed to be a part of chaos, and my life was chaotic.
Yeah, no kidding.
And the second I convinced myself, like, you know, I don't agree with that, but
I can also just keep my opinion to myself.
That's okay.
You know, I'm kind of surprised you didn't have a Reddit back in the day.
I'm sure I did.
That's amazing.
I have like 8.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I really want to get to 10 by summer.
Okay. That's a good goal.
Yeah.
I think you can get there for sure. You have at least one more from this show, I think.
Period.
Okay, so before we wrap up today's show, festivals that are on the horizon for you, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, geez. Here we go. We are going to Base Canyon. Are you going to Base Canyon?
I'll let you know.
Oh, come on.
I have the tickets.
Well, what? Dude, you got to go with us. We have a spot.
Well, yeah, I got to work out some details, some things, some stuff and some things.
You know what you're doing? Being a punk bitch on your podcast right now.
Stop.
Damn.
I'll tell you later.
So we're doing Base Canyon, and then we are going to do Lost Lands.
Okay.
And then we're doing EDC Orlando. And EDC Orlando, day 2 is my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you got to go
right now. That's going to be the best birthday
ever. They're going to do fireworks for my birthday.
I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Festival on your birthday?
I lost my mind a while ago.
How can we make that happen on June 15th? Next year.
I could be born.
We could make actually, you know what? Yes, we should create our own festival.
We probably could.
100%. You, Allie, all of y'all's friends, me, my connects.
All right, guys. So 100%. Tickets go on pre-sale. If you mention this podcast, we'll give you 15% off of our tickets to the festival, the Evolve Festival.
It's honestly not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. I'm very down.
We may have a second conversation.
We'll have a conversation off air. Now our wheels are like do.
Creativity.
Okay. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on today's show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that was
M's
really
on my podcast next.
Yes, I can't wait. So make sure, guys, to check the links down below. Subscribe to his podcast. All of his links will be there. His coaching, if you guys want to apply for coaching, make sure that you're not a punk ass bitch because he doesn't take those people.
No, just real quick. We have so many incredible coaches on Team NK, and we tailor towards every single person who just wants to be better.
That's awesome.
But you also can't be a punk bitch.
Yeah. End of story. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Evolve with Emily. If you enjoyed the show, please do me a favor, leave it a 5-star review if you feel it is worthy of so. Please share it on your Instagram stories, tag both myself and Nick, and let me know who you guys would like to see next. May or may not have Allie coming on the show.
Oh, she told me.
Dun, 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 dun. It's going to be great. Love you guys, and see you in the next one. Bye.